Merry Christmas everyone. Yes, it is our Christmas special. We've only been going for 2 episodes now, but it feels very festive here. I'm joined by Piggy.
Ho ho ho, ho ho ho.
I'm going to break the fourth wall. You told me to festive it up, didn't you? Because I was being a bit of a humbug before, wasn't I?
Yeah, you are. He was in, I'm telling you, before we went on the pre-recorded air, he said to me, "Oh, I hate Christmas. I'm not a big fan of Christmas. Oh, Piggy, I'm not looking forward to Christmas." And I was like, "Virgil, it's Christmas Eve. Or it's the day before Christmas Eve. Hype this up, will you?"
Well, I'm kind of upset. I'm kind of upset because in the episode we're about to review, there was something tragic that happened to a beloved Christmas character. You know, I don't want to spoil it just yet. We'll get into the episode soon. But we are reviewing Raw from the 24th of December, Christmas Eve edition, 2012. Almost 10 years to the day. Now, exactly why are we recording this episode, Piggy?
Well, for fans who want to know, we are kind of doing a little arc, if you want to call it an arc, on what got us into wrestling, what was our first show, what shows were on when we were born, and I think that's it.
It's the ones as well where we sort of say we're doing the reviews on the shows that we first attended.
Yeah, we're doing that one as well. I forgot the third or fourth one. To give a little bit of backstory, when I was a little pig, when I was a 9-year-old pig, yes, pigs can be human ages as well.
A piglet?
Yeah, a piglet. When I was a piglet, I remember going upstairs into my barn.
Was it a literal barn that you watched this in?
No. I'm trying to kayfabe it here, brother.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
You're fine. I remember going up to my barn. I remember going into the back room of my barn because my father Piggy, had a TV with Sky on it. You know what Sky is, don't you?
Yes.
Sky for the American audience is our cable over here. It's a big brand, or was a big brand in the 90s and early 2000s. It was also a big brand on the black market, but that's for a different reason.
We'll assume that you as a pig in your barn got Sky legally, yes?
No comment.
Yes, all right, that'll do. Keep it festive.
Yeah. We legally bought it, yeah. But around New Year's Eve, Sky was, I believe, showing replays of Raw. And I remember tuning in, and the exact moment a festive character got hit by a car, and I was like, I love this. I love this. I love it. My first show I ever watched was WrestleMania 25, but I don't really count that as I was tuning in and out of it. But this was my first ever episode I saw.
This was your Austin Rock moment, your John Cena winning the championship moment, was Santa getting hit by a car and you said, this is it, this is what's got me hooked in.
Yeah, you know. Because everyone's like, "Oh, I loved when Austin stunned McMahon. That was my favourite moment in all of wrestling. Oh, I loved when CM Punk topped the barricade and won the championship. Oh, I loved when MJF hit William Regal with the brass knucks." And then I'm like, lads, my favourite moment is Santa Claus getting hit by a car.
It is not necessarily a far cry from the Attitude Era, you know. This was controversial up in the North Pole from what I've been told, and what they were saying on the show. It seemed like this did really heavily affect the psyche of many of the wrestlers on this night. But yeah, so you kept watching after this, I assume, and you've been in love with it ever since.
So Christmas Eve, technically, you can say I turned 10. I turned 10 years as a wrestling fan.
Oh, so it's a nice anniversary as well now, and you get to do this podcast reminiscing about it all these years later. I think at the time I was just starting NLW, or at least I remember. I think on Christmas Eve, the episode of this show, I was actually filming an episode. This is back before the days I had the setup I've got now. But yeah, like I remember back then I was just pottering along. I don't know why I was a WWE fan still at this point watching this episode. Not that it was bad by any means, but I'm sure we will get into it. I know we're going to be talking a lot about a lot that happened in the show. It's very noteworthy for both good and bad reasons. But before we really get into it, we often talk about nostalgia on this show. So what was the video game situation back in the day?
For people, I consider this one of the greatest video games in WWE. This is the last THQ published game. It's WWE 13. It has been released for about a month and a half now. It came out October 30th, 2012. Mike Tyson was DLC. I'm not going to run through the roster, but fun fact, before we talk about the game, Mike Tyson's entrance was supposed to be a famous boxer's entrance who fought the Big Show.
Floyd Mayweather?
It was supposed to be, Floyd Mayweather was supposed to be in SVR 2009 as either DLC or a main character as a selling point, but they couldn't get the rights to him.
Oh,
so
I never knew that.
So they scrapped it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I imagine that he would have probably asked for a shitload of money, though, you know?
Yeah, he probably did. He's probably like, I'm more famous than wrestling. Give me a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, trying to acquire the rights to someone like that is going to be expensive. But well, they tried to get Tyson for like a couple of years later, didn't they? And then they just had to use someone.
They tried to get him for 2K16, but that was when they got the real enforcer. The Enforcer. The Enforcer,
yes. He isn't Mike Tyson, to be clear, though. He is the Enforcer on the outside, but you're supposed to know who he is. That was a weird, cheap knockoff moment for WWE. They're not really into that kind of thing usually, but hey, it was no difference.
It was Tick Myson.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows where he is to this day and why they didn't include him in the most recent launch. But yeah, do you have any memories of that game? Did you get it at the time?
I didn't get it at the time. I got it a year later, and I remember I fell in love with the roster because the roster to me is one of the most stacked Attitude Era rosters, one of the most stacked Attitude rosters on video games, and it has one of the most stacked WWE rosters because you have Brodus Clay on it. You have Alberto Del Rio, you have 2 John Cenas on it, you have Johnny Ace on it, you have CM Punk. You know, it's just, you can have finally CM Punk versus Austin, and they even hyped it up when they were doing promos for it.
Everyone thought they were going to wrestle, didn't they? Ironically, closer now than they were back then, probably.
Yeah. Everyone thought Austin was going to come out of retirement and fight Punk, but that obviously did not happen, sadly.
Yet. You never know, there's still time.
Unless you people are a fan of NLW, then it has happened in the NLW universe.
Oh, of course.
Multiple times.
Yeah, because I know what the audience wants, you see. WWE don't, and they should have thrown more money at it. And they should have thrown more money at... Well, they shouldn't have thrown more money at Mayweather. He probably... not the best use of money. But yeah, I remember getting that game. Story designer mode was sick. I wish they would bring that back for the newer games, because I remember just creating the wackiest stories and stuff like that. I even tried to translate NLW storylines into the game at the time, I remember, to try and see what cutscenes I could implement in NLW and vice versa. So yeah, and the Attitude Era stuff, really up my alley. Love the season mode, love living through it. It's just a shame they didn't include the stuff past 99 into 2000 and 2001, but I think the rumour at the time was a lot of it involved Benoit and a lot of it involved Kurt Angle. Not saying they're on the same level, but you know what I mean, in terms of Kurt Angle was with TNA at the time, so because he would have been a big part of that arc, it would have been difficult to make a game around that part, but they got the rights to everyone else for the first half of the Attitude Era. But still, a really sick roster, you know, likes of, I think Ken Shamrock was in it, The Godfather, you know, you name it. They've missed very little people out, so that was a good roster. In terms of other merchandise, what was going on with the figure situation? What was Ringside looking like back in the day?
Oh, hold on, I'll pull this up now. Let's have a look at this. You probably remember this. The Wayback Machine, the time machine is being very slow at the moment, but we are going to be getting there. We are there. So there was Elite 18. Elite 18 would have been out at this point. So would have Elite 19. You know Elite 19 very well.
Do I? Who's in Elite 19?
Shawn Michaels.
Oh, the flashback one?
Yes.
Oh, I love that figure. Oh, man, this would have been around the time where I first started buying Mattel figures, you know, because before this I'd never bought Elites, so this would have been like the first line of toys that I bought. This and like the Undertaker might have been one of them.
Undertaker was in the Biker Taker that you bought.
Yeah, that's
was in Elite 18.
Elite 18, damn. So yeah, that was the first figures I picked up from Mattel. Like, I'd not been into figure buying for years before this, and this would have been around the time. But of course this was in the days way before I was browsing Ringside and spending ridiculous amounts of money on the hobby. This is when I would just find it on Amazon every so often and be like, oh, I like that, the looks of that one, before my habit got out of hand, and I do call it a habit, because I shouldn't be buying any more of these ridiculous items they've got, like $45, $46 for a Logan Paul action figure. I mean, fair play, you can wrestle all right, but I don't know if I want to spend that much money on it. But yeah, a lot of cool figures from when I had a look at it. Did you get any of the figures on this page that you're seeing at the moment?
I think I had the Elite 20 not Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, because that is coming out that's on pre-order actually, and I assume it comes out in January 2013.
Yeah, around that time. Yeah.
I don't think I had any of these figures at the time. Any of these figures actually. I might have had the Jeff Hardy. I definitely had the Hell in a Cell playset.
Is that the scale Hell in a Cell? That would have been Mattel, though, wouldn't it?
That's the Mattel version.
Yeah, I've never even seen the Mattel version. I didn't know they had one.
We can't, of course, so we can only say, but we can't say our figures are in the line because the Wayback Machine, our time machine, will not let us click any of the links, so we can only look at the page.
Oh, well, never mind, I'm sure. There are other versions, though, that you can click on the website. It just depends what time frame it is. Finally, in our nostalgia seg, what was happening on the competition? I mean, at this point, you can't really call it competition, but it was more competition than it was today.
Well, if you're wondering where it took place in Orlando, Florida. The previous episode was December 13th. The next episode is December 27th. Are you ready for TNA Impact?
Everyone always is. I'm guessing this is the era of Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's the champion, isn't he, at this time?
Yeah, he is champion.
Yeah. So this is when you had the likes of Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles. Even though Impact had kind of fallen off a little bit, they still had a lot of star power. And I think 2012 was actually quite a successful year for them, creatively anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what happened on this show then?
Devon defeated Kurt Angle to retain the TNA Television Championship.
Oh, love from my boy Devon.
Yeah, Devon won a belt. He retained a belt.
Against Kurt Angle?
Yeah.
Oh, start of Aces and Eights as well, we should mention. That would have been the main storyline, I forgot.
We have Mr. Not going to say his name, I'll just mutter it. Oh, you're right. And Matt Morgan defeated Kenny King and Rob Van Dam. I'll send you this so you can have a look yourself. Because I'm not saying his name, you can say his name.
Is it the Penis Man?
It is the Penis Man.
Oh, yeah, no, don't stand.
Benoit is alright, but that man is not alright.
No, he's not. Continue.
Tara with Jessie defeated Mickie James to retain the TNA Women's Knockout Championship in 6 minutes and 56 seconds. Jeff Hardy defeated Austin Aries to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship in 18 minutes and 2 seconds.
Ooh.
Your commentators are Mike Tenay and Taz, and your ring announcer is Jeremy Borash.
So not a bad show, really. I mean, actually, no, not really. It is a bad show. Aside from the main event. The main event sounds good, though. 18 minutes for Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries. Pretty good, considering they're having pay-per-view matches, like, in the run-up to this. They just had a ladder match as well, so I don't know what the quality of this one was, but I remember the matches always being pretty good.
Me too.
Yeah, so decent competition, you know, especially for, like, what you'd expect to be, like, a throwaway Christmas episode. To have Hardy versus Aries on it sounds pretty good. And this was also around the time, I know this one was in Orlando, but they were doing a lot of touring around this time too. So it made Impact feel a lot more big time in terms of, you know, the stadiums they are in. So, yeah, fair enough. I kind of regret not keeping up with it more around this time though, because it seems like they were kind of firing all cylinders, especially in 2012. I don't know if you were watching at this time. Oh no, of course you're not, because the whole point of this arc is that this is the first episode you've ever watched.
Yeah.
So, when did you actually hear about TNA then?
I think it was on Eurosport, in 2013, and I remember being in She Shall Not Be Named house, and basically she had Eurosport on, and I remember Dixieland. Do you remember the Dixieland match between Magnus and Jeff Hardy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first ever TNA match.
You've got a rough couple of firsts with this episode and then that first match as your introduction to TNA. How are you still a wrestling fan?
I don't know. I think it's because of a man called NLW who kept me through the years of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
With his stop motion.
Too right. I should have had Roman Reigns go on a tear and then people had no escape from it. It's a sad day on WWE Raw though, because it's supposed to be festive. All right, so are we happy to start the look at this episode of Raw?
Yes, we are.
It's a very festive edition of Raw. The stage is covered with presents. We don't know what the main event is yet, I believe. I think they kind of advertise a couple of things like Lumberjack Frost Match. There's a Santa's Little Helper 8 Diva Tag Team match. When we start off the show, Merry Christmas, and it's the infamous cartoon of the wrestlers and not the cartoon, the wrestlers, just CM Punk being a mean old Grinch. Do you want to talk us through this opening song that they sing?
Hopefully in post-production, the editor, whoever the editor is, Mr. God himself, the editor, will put in the Christmas music song. It doesn't get DMCA'd.
That's why you have to find it, or in post I'm going to have to sing it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear your singing voice.
Some of them are okay singers. Some of them are not.
We have CM Punk. We have CM Punk here now. He's trying to light up a Christmas tree. He can't light up the Christmas tree. Are you ready? Dashing to the show so we can entertain. Over the top rope we'll go. Hope I land on Kane. Punk is on a roll. When you step into that ring. Yes, no, okay, yes. I'm not going to sing. Oh, ring the bell, the season's here, no doubt. We won't stop until we win, or I'm gonna knock you out. We go out to compete, all alone or in a pair. I can't eat enough red meat, we'll fly through the air. I'm the best in this whole world, I know that is not true. Excuse me, don't you start a fight. Can you dig it? You sing too. Oh, ring the bell, we hope that you're inspired. If you aren't entertained, Vince will say you're fired.
And then John Cena has a little message for, by the way, fantastic rendition.
Hopefully in post, I will send you the link in post,
okay,
so you can play it over that.
Oh yeah, of course I will play it over that, you know it. I wouldn't stitch you up. It's Christmas after all. But after that beautiful song, which I think you sang it better than they did, to be fair.
I did do music for 6 years.
Oh, fair enough. So it shows. There you go. Santa Claus is here, and he's handing out presents. Oh man, imagine being a kid in that crowd and you get like a wrestling figure from Santa. That's insane.
Wasn't there supposed to be a Santa Mick Foley figure?
I think there was, and it was like an unreleased one, wasn't it? So this is Mick Foley.
Yeah. This isn't Mick Foley, this is the real Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, right. Well, he conveniently looks a lot like Mick Foley. In fact, he's got his mannerisms and everything. But it's Santa Claus, and he's coming to the ring, and he's like waving at everyone. But then Alberto Del Rio's music hits, cuts to the crowd. Kids are like happy to see Santa, and then oh no, you're gonna have to take it over because it's making me upset.
Santa Claus gets hit by a... I can't say it.
Santa Claus
I can't say that. A murder happens.
He's hit by a car, and if you think we're upset, just see Ricardo Rodriguez. He is just breaking down in tears. And you can see in the thumbnail of this video how brutal the attack was. He just... feet in the air... It hits the car. Well, he doesn't really hit the car. You just see him on the car. And then, to make matters worse, the Christmas tree falls on him. And then you killed Santa chants in the arena. Del Rio, he's confused. He's upset. And, but thankfully, Nick Foley, Saint Nick, puts his thumbs up to say he's okay. And the paramedics help him. And this is treated with a lot of seriousness.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember when Owen passed away and JR had to give his sad Owen voice?
They do the sad Owen voice. It's really, it's kind of tasteless. Like, that is what you would call it, isn't it? Where they try and, I don't know, it sort of make it seem super, like, tragic, don't they? By the way, they show this segment. I cannot count how many times they showed this segment. Like, a dozen times throughout the show. Sometimes twice within the span of 2 minutes.
But he was hit by a car, so...
I mean, yeah, but, imagine this is like in real life, right? Imagine if someone got hit by a car on accident, and then it was replayed over and over and over again on the broadcast. It wouldn't fly, would it? Like the first two times I was like, that's a really, that sucks for Santa. But then on the 12th time, I'm just over it. I don't care really. I think he should move on.
See, I told you he's a bah humbug for Christmas.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe by the end of this episode I kind of became bah humbug. Although there were points in this show where I did feel quite festive. Backstage, after the commercial, and this lasts for about 15 minutes to start the show, where Santa's crime scene is just covered in police tape and Del Rio's car is there for the whole of the show. Del Rio is the pariah in the backstage area. Booker T comes out, says Santa's down, but the show has to go on. Del Rio is just... He's trying to explain himself, but no one's letting him because, damn, they killed Santa, You
killed Santa!
Yeah, and the kids, think of the kids. Booker says that Santa Claus' last words was that Del Rio would be in a Miracle on 34th Street fight against John Cena.
I thought Santa's last words were, "Oh, fuck, it's a car."
No. He can't be... Well, actually, no, to be fair, I would say the same in that situation. But more importantly, I would vow vengeance in my final decree. And who better to help you with your vengeance than the Doctor of Vengeance, John Cena, as they call him, especially around the holidays.
How did he finish that sentence when he got hit by a car? You're going to be on a Miracle on 34th Street with... bloody hell, I've been hit by a car.
Well, I think his last words before maybe dying, but luckily they've got top-notch medical facility in the backstage area for Santa. He's rigged up to a heart monitor and everything. But Cena says it's on, and it's on for Santa. In all seriousness, what did you think about this opening segment, saga, if you will?
It reminded me of this South Park episode where Santa goes to a foreign country and he gets shot down. It reminded me of that so much.
Oh yeah, Christmas in Afghanistan, isn't it, that one?
Yeah. But Santa gets, it's my favourite Christmas episode.
Oh yeah, it's my favourite Christmas episode of anything.
Santa, it's Jolly Red Sleigh Down is the name of this South Park episode. It just reminds me of that.
Whereas he got shot down, Santa, he got hit, he got a little bit of a nudge from a car. I think they're playing it up a little bit. Right, it might be a controversial opinion. I really like this storyline arc throughout the show. I thought it was silly. Probably not aimed at me as an adult, but I would eat this up if I was a kid. I think this sort of thing, especially like as a one-off Christmas special, like a taped show as this was, I assume, this was a...
It was, sorry to interrupt you, it was taped on the 18th of December.
Yeah, so like a week prior. Probably like after SmackDown or something, wasn't it?
Taped before SmackDown, I think.
Yeah, so I like these kind of non-canon holiday specials sometimes. Let's face it, if you're watching Monday Night Raw on Christmas Eve, I don't want to say you need to sort out your priorities, but maybe a little bit. But still, I thought it's a fun, non-canon episode. And you know what? I would have thought that for the first hour of this show, but then I remember that it's a 3-hour Raw. Kind of put me off it a little bit. But our first match is quite interesting, isn't it?
It is Kane. I believe it's Kane versus Cody Rhodes.
And
whoa!
You're only smoking mirrors. See, I didn't have 6 years of singing, so I thought I did pretty all right.
I think you did all right there. Come on, give us another belt of the song. Come on.
Whoa! You're only smoking mirrors. And he's only as fragile as a mirror, as a smashed mirror, after the bump he took on main event. Jesus, I do not remember this.
Was he legitimately hurt for 25 days?
Only 25 days. Only 25 days. Describe the way he landed.
He landed awkwardly. He took a Kota Ibushi bump, basically. He lands on his shoulder. Kane basically had him up for, I don't know what he had him up for.
A back body drop.
He had him up for a back body drop, and then Cody basically does his best Kota Ibushi impression and just lands either on his neck and his shoulder nearly at the same time.
So under-rotated and basically landed all on his neck and shoulder, and super surprised that it did not result in a more serious injury. Hey, he came back with a mustache, so...
My favourite Cody Rhodes, Mustache Cody.
Yeah, Mustache Cody. I mean, what do you think about his facial hair?
I loved Mustache Cody.
I mean, I guess it's a gimmick in its own right, but I think it looks ridiculous personally on him. But maybe it's because I'm used to seeing him clean shaven.
I hope he brings back the mustache and he dyes it blonde.
Oh my god, yeah! To go with his, he'd look proper redneck with that and the American Nightmare tattoo on his neck. Come back, Cody's mustache, winning the Rumble and going to Mania. That'd be sick.
he defeats Roman Reigns in 1 minute, so Roman can then look like a bitch against The Rock when The Rock inevitably wins
Hell yeah.
the match.
Hell yeah.
To promote Fast and Furious Part 10 of 5.
And the Shield are actually in the company at this point, so...
Yeah.
But they weren't on this show, maybe because, I don't know. Like, you know, they were supposed to fight Injustice, that was the main thing, but where were they when Santa got hit by a car?
Well, if Santa didn't get hit by a car, he probably would have got triple powerbombed by the Shield.
Maybe. What, is Santa unjust for putting people on the naughty list, maybe? I don't know. That's just another avenue you could have gone down. Then again, if I was booking, I probably would have buried the Shield by accident too early on, like barely a month into their tenure. This match is fine. I quite liked it. What do you think?
It was a good opener. Nothing really to know at home about, really. Like, it's just a good match. It's a Kane match, basically. What can you expect?
Yeah. It didn't go too long. There was a match that went really long later on, but I'll get into that later. This was fine. There was going to be a match between their tag team partners later on, between Daniel Bryan and Damien Sandow, but this one for now, not too bad. Chokeslam, 1, 2, 3, Kane wins. It was what it was. It wasn't a bad match. Decent opener. Got a commercial break. And then when we come back, it's the Santa's Helper 8 Diva tag. So that's Layla, Natalya, Caitlyn, and Alicia Fox versus Eve Torres, who's the Divas champion, Oksana, Rosa Mendez, and Tamina Snuka, wearing their Christmas stuff. Tamina Snuka is not vibing with her outfit.
Exactly, I agree. It was just a match to get Jerry's pants excited and get the Divas on the show.
It's so weird, like this. Like, I know, obviously, you talk about women's revolution and stuff like that, but it's still weird, especially in like a sanitized PG environment where they're not overtly sexualized as they were like 10 years prior, you know, but the commentators will still make weird, like, I want to kiss them under the mistletoe, you know, and Cole joins in. It's just weird.
It is, because you'd expect it in 2002, not 2012.
Yeah, like, it definitely dated. The match, it's alright. I thought it was going to be way worse, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, you're not a big fan of Tamina Snuka, like?
Probably not a big fan. You know what? I really like Caitlyn. I was always a massive fan of Caitlyn.
Well, that's a shocker. I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were going to say you were a big fan of Tamina. That's just me.
Yeah, Caitlyn, I remember she had a match with AJ they were original Women's Revolution types. Their matches for the Divas Championship were pretty damn good later on in the year. But here, you know, any highlights for you personally?
No highlights in this match for me. I found it very hard to get through this match.
Didn't Layla smack her bum a little bit? And Jerry got a bit excited? Yeah. You know, that's the kind of festive stuff we love to see on our wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, a little smack on the bum. They all have lovely bottoms, as Father Ted would say.
I literally wrote that in my notes for this match. At least that's how I imagine Jerry Lawler would have written his notes. He probably wouldn't have been that respectful, to be honest.
They all have lovely arses, don't they, Michael?
It's a fine match, you know. Typical Divas era stuff. Can't really lay into them too much. Like, they did a fine job, you know, for the time they were given. But yeah, not too bad. We get an update on Santa Claus, as we do throughout the night, really. It's just Matt Stryker kind of, he's not really giving us any info. It's just sort of saying it's not really looking good for Santa.
No, Santa, Red Sleigh is down. I repeat, Red Sleigh is down.
Yes, he's trying to recover. And then we also get a series of skits involving Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee. So Dolph Ziggler had just won a ladder match at the previous week's TLC pay-per-view, in which he retained the Money in the Bank briefcase after AJ Lee betrayed John Cena and cost him the match. And now AJ and Dolph are a couple. Somewhere CM Punk is seething at the look of these two with their antics. They're enjoying their favourite Christmas movie, and I knew immediately what it was going to be.
I honestly thought it was going to reveal to be Elf.
Elf's a good film. Yeah, what's your favourite Christmas movie?
I'll actually have to Google. I think it's You tell us about your favourite Christmas movie.
My favourite Christmas movie, bro. It's a mix between two. If you want to talk serious movies, I think Klaus is really good. Klaus, it's on Netflix if you can watch it. It's the story of a postman who goes to this backwoods town, but that's it's like an origin of Christmas story. Really good. I also love The Grinch. Jim Carrey's The Grinch. I think it's ridiculous. And yeah, I based one of my Christmas specials off of it, The Grinch in general. But this Jim Carrey performance, have you found it? What yours is?
My favourite Christmas film is a horror film. It's basically Jerry Lawler as a child. He's trying to sleep his babysitter, but he's a child, and he basically wants to get revenge on everyone that hurted her. So it's better watch out. It's a great horror film.
I'll have to watch that. What year did it come out?
2016.
Oh, fair enough. I love Christmas horror movies.
Me too.
Speaking of horror movies, John Cena getting betrayed. What did you think of this Dolph and AJ coupling?
I didn't mind it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit cringe in hindsight, I guess, because they're not great actors here. But it's cheesy in it, I suppose. It's not too bad. We recap the running over again, and it's starting to get old by this point, but his heart monitor's is still on, so he's not dead yet. Lumberjack Frost Match. In the match graphic, they showed JTG and Ted DiBiase Jr., but they were nowhere to be found on this show. I didn't even remember them still being employed, but I think JTG was infamously employed up until like 2014, even though he barely appeared on TV.
That was like a lot of wrestlers underneath the Vince McMahon era.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, like, the job squad on the outside just shows the roster depth, really, that they had. Although, that said, like, 3 of those people on the outside just main evented Survivor Series, so, you know, I suppose anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Non-title Lumberjack Frost Match. World Champion The Big Show takes on Sheamus. Now, The Big Show and Sheamus in this year had a banger after banger. You know, Sheamus claims he's having bangers today. He was having bangers back then. His match against The Big Show at Hell in a Cell, I thought was fantastic. And this one started off decent. It was like a house show style, but it didn't really pick up more than that, and it went on for a hell of a long time. Like, I don't have exactly how long it went, but it felt like it went on for ages. Lumberjacks are trying to get their cheap shots in, but you know, ultimately, I think there's... Well, you can go through. What are your highlights from this match?
Again, no real highlights. I was just enjoying the match. I couldn't note down anything because I was enjoying the match. It was one of my favourite matches of the night. No real favourite spots. It was just a good match. The Lumberjacks beating up Sheamus but never beating up Big Show was a highlight for me. Yeah,
I did like that part. There were some points where, like, it did seem like it was picking up a little bit. I just felt it went too long. But I suppose back in the day, well, it's the same now, but the matches had to be a bit longer just so they can fill the TV time. I did like the house show vibe they were going for with the crowd interaction at the start. To me it just went a bit too long, but yeah, Sheamus ducks the KO punch, bro kick 1, 2, 3, and Sheamus wins. Weird that they have beat their world champion, but I suppose Big Show wouldn't be champion for too long.
Didn't he lose it to Alberto Del Rio either at Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber?
He lost it on a SmackDown before the Royal Rumble.
To Alberto?
Yeah, to Alberto Del Rio, and this is when SmackDown was not popping off at all. So it's a bit weird to have a title change on it, but yeah.
But why would you lose to Alberto? He hit Santa Claus with a car.
He was in the process of turning face at this time as well. That was what was confusing. He was about to turn face. In fact, they'd already, like, he's already face or he was about to turn face, but there was like a non-canon setup here that they had going on where he was the baddie.
Why would you reward manslaughter?
I know. Literally, running over Santa Claus was probably the worst thing that Alberto Del Rio has ever done.
It's the worst thing that happened to WWE after 2007.
Keep it festive.
I don't know how it took you a minute to catch it.
That's not Yeah, exactly. That's not festive. I was already in the bar humbug mood. And now Santa is still in his deathbed, it seems. But, you know, I was picked up a little bit because we had the recap of Miz TV on Tribute to the Troops with Kermit the Frog. The Miz was pressuring Kermit to admit his feelings for Miss Piggy. And, you know, they're grilling Kermit to marry her. And Damien Sandow comes out, stops this. And the Miz defends Miss Piggy's honour by laying out Sandow. So, any thoughts on this epic segment?
5-star classic. I recommend you go watch it. I'm only joking, don't go watch it.
Muppets Christmas Carol is my favourite Christmas movie, actually. I've got a bunch of them, but it's in my probably Muppets Christmas Carol, now that I think about it.
I've got a bunch as well. We'll make it a segment at the end.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure he will. Later tonight, got confirmation it's Alberto Del Rio and John Cena, Miracle on 34th Street Fight. And we're back with David Otunga. David Otunga, possibly my least favourite commentator in the history of professional wrestling.
Wow.
I'll stand by that. He was in there for SmackDown 2016, best era of SmackDown, and like worst commentator ever. Hate his commentary. I'm not saying he's a bad man, he just can't emote.
I would agree with that to an extent.
Like, the character he plays here, it doesn't require him to emote, so he plays it well, you know, like this stuck-up lawyer. But he says that Del Rio is the victim, and he says Santa's a jolly geriatric, but Zack Ryder, a boy, you may know him as Matt Cardona, deathmatch legend, is here to defend the honour of Santa. Would you have thought back then, watching Zack Ryder, that he would, in 10 years, become the face of independent wrestling?
No, because you think he was supposed to be a WWE for a lifer, well, don't you?
Yeah, no, that's true. Then again, all of these people, that's horrible to say that they're all expendable, but I imagine. But what I mean by that is that none of them were really pushed heavily to the point where they would be, inexpendable, so to speak. But yeah, we get a brief match here between Zack Ryder and David Otunga. So, chin locks galore, back elbows, Otunga just clubbing Ryder. The crowd's pretty behind Ryder, at least. But yeah, another thing for this show though was like the fake crowd noise throughout. Like, there was a point later on in the show where Jinder Mahal was delivering some clotheslines to someone, and the crowd was super into it, and you could see no one in the crowd was reacting at all.
It was the spirit of Christmas.
It might have been, yeah, to amplify the sound. And Otunga loses to the Rough Rider. 1-2-3, Zack Ryder wins. Booker and Teddy Long, they're laughing at Otunga's lost. But then Brad Maddox comes in. He's sucking up to Booker.
Wasn't the first time he sucked up to someone.
Well, who says he's already given Maddox a shot? But he's in the Christmas mood and gives him a chance by having him face one of Santa's elves tonight. So we'll see what happens there with Brad Maddox.
Yeah. Mr. Porn Star himself. That's a cocktail. YouTube, that's a cocktail.
Mr. Martini. Next up, tag team match. This is festive. A match we've probably seen. Oh, the US champion, Cesaro, not getting an entrance. What's that about?
He's a heel, that's why.
I suppose. Him and Wade Barrett teaming up to take on Kofi Kingston and The Miz. Dream team there. This matchup was fine. Again, like, I remember WWE in 2012, and I felt like we've seen a combination of these four wrestlers all the time, every single week, Raw and SmackDown. But I suppose as a new fan, you wouldn't have seen much of that. So what did you think of this match?
Again, like most of the matches here, it was just to get people on the card. Honestly, it was a good match. I can't remember any high spots in it, but it was just to get people on the card.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. None of these matches are bad. It's just that they're not memorable in any way, and they don't... it's a non-canon episode, but I would have liked to have seen more goofy stuff, more segments rather than matches. But I suppose they've just got to... Sometimes it's just a slog to get something out for TV, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Trouble in Paradise from the outside, Skull Crushing finale, and The Miz and Kofi win this one. But yeah, not a bad match, just nothing really to talk about. We hear about the street fight between Del Rio and Santa Claus, and we get another update on Santa's condition. And another recap of the Del Rio incident, and no update, and it's really just another... Like, I don't know how many times they have to bring this up.
Slaughtered. He was manslaughtered. He's a victim. He was hit.
Yeah, but it doesn't put me in the festive mood to hear of someone who's been slaughtered.
My family were slaughtered for bacon, and you ate them. So you will get how Santa Claus feels. I
suppose that would make me a hypocrite, really. But Dolph and AJ, they're backstage, surprises him with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and that's the present. And, wait a minute. Oh, she reveals something to Dolph Ziggler, doesn't she? Wink, wink.
Well.
She exposes her new shirt, her new show-off shirt, her new Dolph Ziggler shirt. Bit raunchy carry-on style from WWE here tonight, a bit cheeky. Brad Maddox, out. You better not pout. You better not cry. Brad Maddox is coming to Raw.
He doesn't even say to Raw. He just says Brad Maddox is coming.
They could have cut it off there. But if he needs to win this match next, he's going to have a tough time, isn't he? Who's his opponent?
Hornswoggle.
No, not quite. The elf is there.
It's the Greg Holly.
Dressed as a giant elf. This reminded me of Elf.
Yeah, he's a giant elf.
I'm not going to lie. I really like this match.
A minute ago he was saying fuck Brad Maddox. Now he's saying
No.
love Brad Maddox.
In the context of wrestling, I like this match. It felt like Khali took bumps and stuff, you know? He's taking bumps from Maddox. They were getting the heat on the legs, swatting him away. I didn't think it was too bad. It was short, it was to the point. And also Maddox got pummeled, so what's not to like?
Wasn't the first time he was pummeled, was it?
Hey, that you're stretching it with the double entendres like that. Post-match though, Hornswoggle wants Santa to get better, and Khali then gives a Punjabi rendition of Merry Christmas. You said earlier, you had the lyrics for the earlier Christmas song. Could you sing what Khali sang here in the style of the Great Khali, please?
Fuck.
just a verse.
Santa Claus. No, it's not Santa Claus. Going. Is it?
I think he's in Punjab. He does say Merry Christmas though.
Punjab, Merry Christmas.
I appreciate that was the least racist way you could have done that. So I thank you for being culturally sensitive. Because WWE
Rocky, that was it.
Oh yeah, Rocky. Yeah, he does sound like Rocky, doesn't he? This was wholesome. The Great Khali singing Merry Christmas. Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole were having a fit on commentary. They loved it. But next up, Cult of Personality hits. Oh boy, I bet he's got.
It's MJF.
Oh, you. No, it's not MJF, but it is CM Punk.
Oh, hang in.
CM Punk, WWE Champion, blesses us with his presence, and he's 400 days as the champion at this point. He mocks Khali singing, which is out of order. You're not going to make friends in the locker room by disparaging your co-workers.
Yeah, and then when someone does it too, you complain and maybe a scrum, but that's here nor there.
That's, neither here nor there. We're on the fence, really, about it, but love to see CM Punk. It's certainly my highlight of the show. Remember being a big fan of his championship reign. What about you?
My thoughts on the reign? Are we allowed to talk post, how it ended?
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the reign, going back and looking at it. Not a fan of how it ended. It should have ended at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, no, true. It should have ended in a triple threat. I mean, wouldn't have got Punk versus The Undertaker, though.
We could have got it next year. Punk would have probably stayed.
He would have been more happy. Yeah, he would have been happier with his position, I think. Yeah, that's true. But the triple threat is what should have happened there. And then have The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, rivalry end, the streak end on that Mania instead.
WrestleMania 29 would have probably been better remembered.
Yeah, and you do Triple H versus Chris Jericho. That might be a controversial opinion.
We're just redoing WrestleMania 29.
Oh yeah, we could rebook it. I mean, this, but this wasn't a bad promo, so, it was alright. He's just saying he's not working with Maddox of the Shield, and says Ryback's living a lie. And it feels weird to hear CM Punk talking about Ryback in kayfabe terms. It feels weird to have Ryback's name being brought up in any terms, really. Heyman isn't happy. He says, don't boo the champion. He's been champion for 400 consecutive days, and he's been the victim of a conspiracy. Who would ever be out to commit a conspiracy against CM Punk is my question.
Hangman Adam Page.
Allegedly.
An empty-headed dumb fuck.
Empty-headed dumb fuck like Ryback says that he can beat Punk, but Punk says on one legs or two he's better than Ryback. Which wrestler do you think is better, CM Punk or Ryback, Piggy?
It's definitely CM Punk. It's just very weird hearing CM Punk complain about Ryback and kayfabe, and then he goes a year and a half later, goes on a podcast. Nearly 2.5 years later, he goes on a podcast and he's like, fuck Ryback. It's very weird.
Yeah, you think Ryback's rough now, mate. Just wait until a year later when you're feuding with him, not even for the championship. But Ryback comes out, and I thought Ryback looked like a bit of a geek here for not beating up CM Punk.
Yeah, he did.
He was like, I've got my Xmas wish. Tables, ladders, and chairs. TLC. So we're getting TLC on Raw for the first Raw of 2013 for the title, but Ryback doesn't beat up CM Punk. He just looks like a little bit of a bitch, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't think it did any favours for Ryback, even though he kept it short and sweet, to the point. You think a top star back in the day would just let CM Punk get away with slagging him off all that time? I know they said, oh, they're going to sue you. Why do you care, Ryback? Just seems a bit weak, in my opinion. He's looking for an excuse not to put his hands on him.
Especially since you're in a lawsuit now with the company. You think you could have went through another one.
Exactly. Damn, I mean, these are two very controversial figures 10 years ago. But two people who aren't as controversial, quite nice people actually. WWE Tag Team Champion Daniel Bryan takes on Damian Sandow, the intellectual saviour of the masses. No, 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 ho, ho, ho. Silence. No. Silence. No. This was when Bryan was peak. No, no, no. Even the crowd was chanting yes. There is a fun segment between Bryan and Kane later, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I thought this match was decent. What about you? I was kind of, after the Punk segment, I was kinda on the content of the show. I think the first bit dragged for me. What do you think?
Fun match again. I think it was up there with the Kane and Cody match. It was a nothing match, pretty much like all the matches on the show, but it was like a pretty good match.
Yeah, it was fine. Bryan as well. This is like shortly before, like a year before the Yes Movement really, well, as WWE calls it, really picked up steam. So it's hard to imagine that in about a year's time he'd be the most popular wrestler in the company. Obviously, he had his fans there, but you know, to see WWE go all out on him, it's quite interesting. But Damien Sandow as well is someone who I want to kind of talk about. Like, what do you think about Damien Sandow? Because I loved him and his run. I thought he got screwed over. One of my favourite gimmicks of all time is Damien Mizdow. I thought his comedic timing and his selling and all the stuff he was doing there was fantastic. And even here, he's great. He's solid in-ring worker too. What do you think?
I think he should have beat John Cena for the world title in 2013.
Absolutely.
But that's just me.
Yeah, but I suppose if they were going to unify the championships anyway, but I would still have Sandow win and then lose it like at Survivor Series or something, you know? Would that have hurt to have Sandow win the championship at least once, considering they were going to vacate it anyway? I don't know. But yeah, Sandow loses this one, surprise, surprise. Yes, yes, yes. Daniel Bryan wins with the bell lock, seemingly out of nowhere because Sandow was in control for the majority of it. Next up, 12-man 12 Days of Christmas tag team match featuring all of the Lumberjacks from earlier in the night. So we've got the Usos, Tyson Kidd, Justin Gabriel, Santino, Brodus Clay, Tensai, Primetime Players, and 3MB. Talk about weird. Imagine saying to someone back then that in 10 years' time, 5 of these people will be former world champions. 5 of these people? 3 of these people will be former world champions.
It's very weird to think. Well, Brodus Clay's an NWA champion, isn't he now?
Yeah, that's what I was. He shouldn't be, but that's a discussion for if we're going to do an NWA episode, which I don't think we'll be doing anytime soon.
Especially since they've upped episode 12 brand out. So.
Oh yeah, true.
And spoiler, NWA is not on our list.
No, it's not. Brodus Clay, here he's with the Funkadactyls. Weird, this is obviously before we talk about the match, but weird how like little chemistry there is between Jimmy Uso and Naomi at the post-match celebration.
Yeah, very weird.
But, obviously they're not on screen together. But Tensai as well is someone who they were going to push big time because he had a massive run in New Japan as... who was his tag team partner? I can't remember.
Tomko?
Oh god, it was Tomko, yeah. So they had a big tag team there, brought Tensai in, he was going to destroy John Cena, and then really quickly the wheels fell off for some reason. Fans were even chanting Albert in this match, could have done more with him, but I suppose he's still employed, isn't he? He's a trainer, so he did well for himself. And naturally Drew McIntyre, with his silly little leather pants, forever haunt me. Luckily he has since become WWE champion, and the Usos as well. Really early stages of their careers. This matchup, decent, the crowd was not into it at all, as much as they tried to pump in the crowd noise. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that a lot, actually.
The SmackDown hairdryer, as they call it, with the kind of fake pumped in pop, it's just so annoying. But the match is fine. Each person has a chance to, you can call it shine if you want to. Santino, though, saves the day. Were you a big Santino fan when you first got into wrestling?
Oh, I absolutely was, but I wasn't as big as a Santino fan as I was Zack Ryder, but I was a big Santino fan.
It's a shame he got into Ryder a year after he was hot.
Yeah, but I loved his blonde hair.
Yeah, he had a very unique look, to say the least. Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd, I remember at the time, I was hoping that they would get a tag run. Sadly, never did. At least tag team championship run, I should say. Samoan Splash after the Cobra. Brodus Clay, Justin Gabriel, Tyson Kidd and the Usos win this nothing match, really, but it was fine. What did you think?
It was a nothing match.
Is the roster's very thin, as you can see in this match, though?
Yeah, there's not a lot of star power because we can't build stars because they might leave like The Rock did.
Yeah, and come back every so often. Like, it's so weird to see now. Like, the landscape of WWE, granted they're not mainstream stars necessarily, but within the context of WWE, I think more across the board, there are stars. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Very few out-and-out job guys these days, but it felt like the majority of the roster was a job guy if you weren't John Cena.
Or Ryback.
Or Big Boy Ryback or CM Punk, you know. But there was still good talent in there, you know. My highlight of the night is up next because Brian's excited about the holidays and Kane gives him a present. What does he get? What gifts do they exchange?
I forget what... I think... What does Brian get again?
He gets a Slammy. He gets his own Slammy because I don't think he won one last week.
Yeah, he gets a Slammy and Kane gets a dog and Kane wants to eat a dog.
A puppy, and then Brian's like, oh sweet, he loves it, and Kane's like, oh thanks man, I'm starving, and then he's like, no, and vegan Brian ruining the fun for everyone at the holidays, saying he can't eat the dog.
Are you gonna eat the dog?
Would I have eaten the dog?
Yeah.
Well, that depends, doesn't it really? Was it a tasty dog?
Was it a hot dog?
Well, a hot dog, yeah. No, there was a puppy, a cute little puppy. Daniel says, no, we're not doing this, but Kane's like, can we talk about this? But a very funny segment in my view. What about you?
Very funny segment.
They've got good chemistry. There's a reason they were...
Like us.
Yeah, obviously. We're working on it. You're not offering me dogs to eat, though. That's not the kind of relationship we have. The kind of relationship we have isn't anything like AJ and Dolph Ziggler because they gross PDA under the mistletoe. They're making out. What do you think of this segment?
I just want to know, did they legitimately knock down the tree, or was the tree supposed to get knocked down anyways?
It's probably like they go out of frame and they're like haha, and then we zoom into the fireplace and God only knows what's happening. What sinful things are happening.
Sinful? I don't think they're Catholic.
I'm sure John Cena would be annoyed. But John Cena doesn't... They seem to be doing this to irritate John Cena, but John Cena's got Santa on the mind, you know? I want to recap. Do you remember the segment just before the main event?
Santa's heart monitor goes off. It's in the style of... I forget this song. I'm not good with this Christmas
Jingle
song.
Bells. Jingle Bells.
It's in the style of Jingle Bells, and Santa might actually be alive.
He could
Red
be.
flame. Not be down.
Just hoping he gets there in time for the main event, which is up next. It's our main event, a Miracle on 34th Street fight, John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio. So, Ricardo, he's really sad he can't even do his introduction because he's sad about Santa. And, you know, every time Cena, he just keeps getting beaten down. But, you know, John Cena, he keeps fighting back. And Del Rio's on the mic, he's like, it was an accident. I didn't mean to. But he's still violent in this matchup. It was... I really liked it. I love it. What do you think about it? What are your highlights?
My favourite highlight is John Cena getting the presents out. Like, Alberto gets a shit present every time. Like, he got a pumpkin pie, a teddy bear. John Cena takes out a chair. He takes out a bowling ball. Yeah,
and rolls it between his legs. Cena screams Santa when he's being hooked into a submission. Like you said, he got the steel chair. Del Rio will get a pie. I love Del Rio's selling of it, or he's just like looking at Ricardo like, really, why have you done this? And he's like, I didn't realise, I didn't know it was going to be this. So he hits Ricardo with a pie by accident, and Cena opens another gift. Actually, it's a TV monitor, and he's getting all the good stuff, and he hits Del Rio. But when we come back from commercial break, Del Rio's in control on the ramp, and Del Rio's going to open another gift, and that's when he gets the bear, and Del Rio throws the bear at Cena. He no-sells it, probably politicking backstage to not sell the bear. But then he uses the whole Christmas tree after the crowd chants use the tree. I'm surprised they did that spontaneously, but that was quite funny. See, he's got a fire extinguisher. It's a white Christmas for John Cena, spraying Del Rio. That sounds gross. I'm sorry. Ricardo with the sleeper. Santa's back. He comes down to the ring. And what does Santa do?
A man of a clause, Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, who taught him that?
He was a big fan of the Attitude Era, I assume.
Yeah, maybe. Although, do you remember the segment where Santa was in the ring? Oh, I suppose that wasn't the real Santa and he got stunned by Steve Austin.
That wasn't the real Santa.
No.
Because he was busy teaming up with Chainsaw Charlie.
Oh, of course, yes. So AA by Cena after the Socko to Del Rio. 3 count. John Cena wins. Cena and Saint Mick celebrate post-match. Happy holidays to all. I love this match. What did you think of it?
I absolutely love this match. I remember this match so well when I was a child. I remember loving this match when I was a piglet.
This is the kind of match that I can imagine getting someone into wrestling, because it is stupid, but in a good way. Like, it's perfect for the holidays. I would have loved for them to have leaned in more to this kind of thing throughout the whole show, instead of just pointless matches. What about you?
Yeah, I wish they did more of these matches on the show instead of just, here's 12 jobbers.
They played their roles really well as well. Like Cena, I probably remember at the time I would have been and tried to be an edgy 14-year-old who was like, I hate John Cena. But he plays his role really well. And I think he's a fantastic seller and actor and all sorts, like a performer, like playing off the crowd, when they go and use the tree and he uses the tree. Presence being used as weapons and you're wondering what they're going to get, and it's a fun dynamic, I think. And Del Rio also played it up really well to react as badly as he did when he got the shit presents. I thought that was funny. In terms of your favourite part of the show, your least favourite part of the show, what are your thoughts on that?
A lot of the matches were my least favourite part of the show.
True.
Because, it was just filler, because if it was 2 hours, I knew half the matches would have probably been cut. Again,
if it was a 2-hour show, it would have been fine. But was there anything you enjoyed about this show?
The Santa Claus getting hit by a car.
Just that?
No.
Oh.
the Sheamus Big Show match, the John Cena and Alberto Del Rio match, and AJ and Dolph knocking over the tree, and Punk complaining about Ryback.
Punk giving out about Ryback will never get old.
An empty-headed, dumb fuck like Ryback.
Like Santa Claus, who allows himself to get hit by a car when he's got business to attend to.
What did I ever do for this sort of Santa Claus to go on national television
and jump in front of my vehicle? He works with fucking children, that's all you need to know.
They couldn't even manage a fucking Target.
Couldn't even manage a fucking elf toy manufacturing plant.
Isn't something technically, illegally using children?
They're not children, they're elves.
Yeah, but he's not paying for them, so they're basically slaves.
Elf slaves, but are elves the equivalent of humans, are they? Or are they prone to... I suppose it's the same thing with... even if they're not, they should be compensated for their labour.
Yeah, but I think we might have to cut this bit.
Well, the Marxist conversation about Santa's work ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's not kind of the festive feeling we're going for in this podcast. Festivity was in the air, though. The thing I really liked about this is just the fact that it made me get into the Christmas spirit, We're only 2 days away from Christmas. No one can prove otherwise. And it's fun to go back and watch Christmas episodes like this. I loved the main event. Made it worth watching. Loved Santa getting hit by a car. I thought that thread throughout the show was quite funny. Would have liked to have seen more random skits with the wrestlers, like the Daniel Bryan and Kane stuff, where they were doing Christmas sort of antics, really, instead of just the standard bland house show type matches. I did like Sheamus versus Big Show. I just think it went too long. Nothing was really outright bad. It was just I think they could have leaned into the Christmas stuff a little bit more. That said, we had Christmas Carly singing, so I suppose they did lean into it as much as possible. Not a great show by any means, but the main event, if you want to get into a Christmas mood, watch the 34th street fight between Cena and Del Rio for sure. And I did like Kane and Cody Rhodes, so that match, so yeah, not a bad show really, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just watch the main event. What about you, Piggy? Final thoughts?
Great match. It got a great show. Well, not great show. Good show for a Christmas episode in comparison to what WCW did in 1997.
Of course. That's next year's Christmas episode, I'm sure.
I'm sure it is.
So, with that, we want to wish you happy holidays, crazy Kwanzaa,
have a hot chocolate,
happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. If you don't celebrate anything at all, that's cool too. Just hope you have a great time. From myself and Piggy, that was a Christmas cheer. Merry time. Opening presents. Hope you enjoy your holidays. Bye.
Bye. Drink hot chocolate responsibly and eggnog responsibly.